My name is Emma. I am 28 years old, and I live in a quiet, peaceful corner of Chicago called Lincoln Park. On the outside, my life looks perfect, but inside, I carry a secret I can no longer hide. If this story speaks to your heart, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Your support helps us keep telling real, emotional stories that matter. People often say, I have a good life. I have a kind husband, a nice apartment, a stable job at a local bookstore, a warm neighborhood with trees, coffee shops, and friendly neighbors. But every morning, I wake up with a heavy heart, and every night, I go to sleep with tears in my eyes that no one sees. 1 year ago, I made a decision that looked right to others, but felt wrong deep inside. I married a man named Leo. He is 32 years old. He is gentle. He is kind. He is thoughtful in every possible way. But here is the truth. I do not love him, not even a little. I never did. I married him because I was trying to escape. I wanted to erase the pain of someone else. His name was Alex. Alex was my first love, but he broke my heart into pieces. He left without answers, without goodbye. I cried for weeks, and then I said yes to Leo. At the time, I told myself, maybe love will grow. Maybe this is what adults do. Maybe kindness is enough. But I was wrong, so deeply wrong. Leo does everything he can to make me happy. He brings me flowers every Friday. He writes little notes and hides them in my bag. He calls me my sunshine and kisses my forehead with care. He makes dinner when I feel tired. He listens, even when I have nothing to say. Any woman would feel lucky to have a man like him. But me? I feel guilty every time I look into his eyes, because I cannot return the love he gives me. One night, we sat on our balcony. The sky was clear. The stars were bright. The air was soft and warm. Leo looked at me with such gentle hope and said, Emma, I know you do not love me yet, but I believe you will. I will wait. My love is strong enough for both of us. His words broke something inside me. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him the truth, but I said nothing. I nodded, and I smiled like I always do, because I do not want to hurt him. But inside I was falling apart. I was living a lie, a life that did not belong to me, a marriage that felt like a mask. Each smile was fake. Each thank you was hollow. Each I'm fine was a cover for the sadness I could not explain. My mother once told me, love can grow. Marriage is about kindness, respect, and time. So I tried. I waited. I hoped that maybe love would come like the morning sun, but it never did. Every day, I felt more and more like a stranger in my own story, like I was acting in a movie where I didn't belong, like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't. Then came that Friday. Leo planned a special dinner for me. He cooked my favorite meal, chicken pasta with garlic bread. He wore the blue shirt I liked. He lit candles. He played soft music. And he looked at me like I was everything he ever wanted. He smiled and said, This is all for you, Emma. You are my everything. I looked at him. I smiled. I whispered, Thank you. But inside, I felt nothing. I tasted the food, but it had no flavor. I heard the music, but it did not move me. I felt like I was in a dream, but not the kind you want to stay in. After dinner, Leo held my hand. He said, Let's go for a walk. We walked to the little park near our apartment. We stopped under an old oak tree. It was the same tree where he proposed to me a year ago. He smiled and said, Remember this place? I told you I'd love you forever. I looked at the tree. Then I looked at him. And all I wanted to do was scream. I do not love you. I never did. But I stayed silent, and in that silence, I felt like the worst person in the world. That night, I could not sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The darkness around me felt heavy, like it was pressing on my chest. I thought about my life. I thought about Leo, and I thought about Alex. I kept asking myself the same question. Will I ever feel happy again? The next morning, my phone rang. It was my best friend, Nina. She heard the tiredness in my voice. Emma, she said, you sound sad. Are you okay? I wanted to lie. I wanted to say, yes, I'm fine. But I was tired of pretending. No, I whispered, I'm not okay. Nina was quiet. She waited. She always gave me space to speak. Then I said it, the words I had been hiding. I do not love Leo. I married him to forget someone else. Now I feel lost. Nina took a deep breath. She said, maybe you need time, some space, to think, to feel. I shook my head. No, I said, it is not time I need. My heart feels nothing for him. That day, I sat on the sofa with Leo. I tried to speak. Leo, I said softly, I need to tell you something. Before I could finish, he stopped me. I know, he said. I can feel it. Emma, please do not give up on us. His eyes were full of hope. That made it worse. I looked at him. He was still trying, still believing. And I had nothing left to give. I felt like I was carrying a heavy bag every day, full of guilt, full of sadness, and full of silence. Then one Sunday afternoon, he asked something that broke me. He looked at me and said, Emma, do you want to have a baby? My heart stopped. I froze. The question felt like a storm. A baby? With a man I did not love? I looked down. My hands were shaking. I'm not ready, I said quietly. Leo nodded. He did not push me. He just looked sad. That made me feel worse. He was always kind. And I was always distant. That night, I wrote in my journal. I wrote, I feel like I'm drowning. Leo is a good man, but I'm not the wife he needs. I also wrote, sometimes I want to leave, but I'm scared. What will people say? Will they think I did not try hard enough? The fear held me in place, but the truth was louder now. One night, I packed a small bag. I stood by the door. Leo was sleeping. He looked peaceful. I looked at him, and my heart broke again. I could not do it. I put the bag down. I sat on the floor and cried. The next morning, he made coffee. He kissed my cheek, and he said, Good morning, my love. I believe in us. His words crushed me. I wanted to scream, Please stop hoping. But I stayed silent. I walked to the window. Outside, a dog was running. Children were laughing. The sun was shining. The world was moving. But inside me, I was frozen. I did not know what to do. I did not know how to fix my life. But I knew one thing for sure. I could not live like this forever. The days passed slowly. Each one felt like a copy of the last. I woke up. I made breakfast. I smiled at Leo. Then I went to work. At the bookstore, I helped customers. I arranged books. I dusted shelves. I spoke kindly. But my heart was never there. It stayed home. Quiet. Heavy. Tired. One Saturday, Leo came home early. He had 2 movie tickets in his hand. He smiled and said, Let's go out tonight. Just you and me. I want to see you happy again. I forced a smile. I said, Okay. But inside, I felt nothing. That night, I put on a dress. I wore lipstick. I curled my hair. I looked in the mirror and whispered, "Try, just try." At the theater, Leo held my hand. He laughed at the funny scenes. He kept looking at me, hoping to see joy in my eyes. I smiled sometimes, but it was not real. It was the kind of smile you wear like a mask. After the movie, he said, "That was fun, right?" I nodded and replied, "Yes, it was nice." But inside, I felt cold, like a window left open on a winter night. When we got home, he made tea. We sat on the couch. He placed his arm gently around me. He whispered, "I missed you, Emma." I looked away. I could not answer. I felt guilt rising in my throat, but I said nothing. I was hurting him every day, not with words, but with silence, with distance, with emptiness. The next morning, I met Nina again. We sat in a small cafe near the lake. The sky was cloudy. The wind was cold. She looked at me and said, "You don't look well. You look tired." I nodded. I was too tired to pretend. I told her everything again. I told her about the movie, the tea, the necklace, the nights, the lies I lived every single day. "Nina," I said, "I feel like I'm in a box with no door. I want to leave, but I'm scared. Leo is a good man. Everyone will hate me if I hurt him." She took my hand. Her eyes were soft. Her voice was steady. She said, "Emma, no one can live your life for you. Not me. Not your parents. Not anyone. You deserve peace. Leo deserves honesty. That's the truth. It's time to face it." Her words touched my heart, but they did not take away the fear. What if I hurt him too much? What if I leave and regret it? What if I never feel happy again? That night, I sat by the window. I watched the street. Lights glowed in other homes. People were laughing inside. I wondered, were they truly happy, or were they pretending to? Leo came and sat next to me. His eyes searched mine. He said, "Emma, you've been so quiet lately. I feel like I'm losing you." I wanted to tell him the truth. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. So I lied. Again. "I'm just tired," I said. "Work has been busy." He nodded. He didn't question me. He never pushed me. That made it worse. The next week, he planned a trip. "Let's go to Lake Geneva for the weekend," he said. "Just us. Maybe the fresh air will help." I didn't want to go, but I said yes. I always said yes. We drove for 2 hours. The lake was beautiful. The trees were full of color. The sky was blue. Leo booked a small hotel near the water. That evening, we walked along the shore. He laughed. He took pictures. He held my hand and said, "This is nice, right?" I smiled, but I felt like I was walking through someone else's dream. Not mine. Never mine. That night in the hotel room, he gave me a small box. Inside was a necklace with a tiny silver heart. He said, "This is for you. My heart is yours." I looked at the necklace. Tears filled my eyes. Not because I was happy, but because I knew the truth. I did not deserve this kind of love. I whispered, "Thank you." And when he fell asleep, I sat on the floor beside the bed. I did not cry out loud. I just sat there, still, thinking. I remembered how we met, how kind he was after Alex left, how he stayed when I was broken. But I never loved him, not once. I married him because I was afraid of being alone. And now I feared living the rest of my life without love. We returned to Chicago. The ride home was quiet. Leo held my hand, but I did not hold his back. I stared out the window. The trees passed by like thoughts. Fast, fleeting, blurry. When we got home, I went straight to the bedroom. I closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and took a deep breath. Later that night, I opened my journal. I took a pen and began to write. Not pretty words, not careful sentences, just truth. Emma, you are not a bad person. You made a mistake, but not with hate. You wanted to heal. You wanted peace. But peace built on silence is not real. Then I turned the page. I wrote more. Leo is not your enemy. He is a good man. But he is not your home. You cannot give him what he needs. And staying will only break you both. The words came fast. For the first time, I was honest with myself. I closed the journal. My hands were shaking, but my heart, it felt lighter. A few days passed. I kept writing. I wrote every night. I wrote about the past, the pain, the guilt, but also about the small hope inside me. One evening, Nina called. Emma, she said, you sound different. You sound stronger. I told her, I'm thinking of telling Leo everything. He deserves the truth. I'm proud of you, she said. That night, I made tea. I sat with Leo at the table. My hands were cold. My lips were dry. But I spoke. Leo, I said softly, I need to tell you something. He looked at me and nodded. He didn't interrupt. He just waited. I took a deep breath. I care about you. You've been so good to me. But I don't love you. I never have. I married you because I was hurting. I thought love might come later, but it didn't. The silence after my words felt loud, heavy, long. Leo did not yell. He did not cry. He just sat there, still. After a moment, he said, I knew. I saw it in your eyes. I just didn't want to believe it. Tears filled my eyes. I'm so sorry. I whispered. I never wanted to hurt you. Leo nodded slowly. I love you, Emma, but I can't be the only one trying. If your heart isn't here, I can't hold you. His voice was calm, but his eyes were wet. He stood up and walked to the window. We didn't speak for a long time. There was no shouting, no blame, just sadness. Real, quiet sadness. That night, I slept on the couch. I stared at the ceiling and whispered to myself. I told the truth. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know where I would go. But I felt one thing I hadn't felt in months. Relief. In the following days, we lived like shadows. We moved around the apartment, without words, without touch, without warmth. I slept in the guest room. Leo still made coffee. He still left a cup on the table. But there were no more notes. No smiles. Only silence. At work, I kept busy. But my mind was somewhere else. Always thinking. Always wondering. One afternoon, Nina visited. She gave me a hug. How are you? She asked. I'm okay, I said. It's hard, but I feel more honest now. She smiled. That's a start. What will you do next? I looked down. Then I said the words I had feared for so long. I think I need to leave. That evening, I told Leo. I sat across from him at the kitchen table. My voice was quiet, but it was sure. Leo, I said, I think I need to move out. He looked at me for a moment. His face didn't change. He didn't look surprised. He asked softly, Do you have somewhere to go? Yes, I said. Nina offered me her guest room. He nodded slowly. Then he said, I'm not angry, Emma. I'm just sad. But maybe this is what we both need. Tears filled my eyes. I never wanted to break your heart, I said. He gave a small smile. You didn't break it. I gave it to you, even knowing you might not keep it. I don't regret loving you. His words made my chest ache, not because I wanted to stay, but because even now, Leo chose kindness. The next morning, I packed a small bag, some clothes, a few books, not much. I looked around the apartment. Everything felt heavy. The memories, the quiet moments, the hope that never turned into love. I saw his coffee mug on the table, our wedding photo on the wall, the soft blanket we used on movie nights. All of it felt like a dream I had never truly lived in. Leo helped me carry the bag to the door. He looked at me one last time and said, "If you ever need anything, call me." I nodded. "Thank you for everything, Leo. You were always good to me." He smiled gently. "Take care, Emma." Then I walked out. Nina was waiting in her car. She smiled and opened the door. "Let's go," she said. I sat beside her. We drove away. I didn't look back. At her apartment, I went into the small guest room. I closed the door. I sat on the bed, and I cried, not because I missed Leo, but because I had finally chosen myself. I felt guilt. I felt sadness. I also felt something new, hope. In the days that followed, I helped Nina around the house. We cooked together, watched movies. She never pushed me to talk, but she was there every time I cried. I started going on long walks near the lake. I watched people with their dogs, children laughing, people holding coffee cups, sitting on benches, smiling at the sky. I liked watching life go on. It made me feel calm. One afternoon, I saw a flyer in a cafe window. It was for a creative writing class. Something inside me whispered, "Try this." So I signed up. The class was small, only 8 people. We wrote stories. We read them out loud. At first, I was shy, but soon I began to enjoy it. I started writing about my life, my feelings, my fears, my healing. One evening, after class, I wrote in my notebook, "I lost love before I even found it, but now I am finding myself." That line made me smile. A few weeks later, I got a message from Leo. It said, "Hi Emma. I just wanted to say, I hope you're doing well. I'm taking time for myself too. I joined a cooking class. It helps me stay busy. No need to reply. Just wanted you to know I'm okay." I stared at the message for a while. Then I replied, "Hi Leo. Thank you. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm in a writing class. It's helping me too. Wishing you peace and happiness." We didn't talk again, but it felt good to say goodbye in a kind way. Months passed. I found a small studio apartment near the bookstore. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I painted the walls soft yellow. I put flowers in the window. I hung a picture of the lake. Every morning, I made coffee for myself. I sat by the window. I watched the world move. I breathed deeply. Yes, I felt lonely sometimes, but I also felt free. One day, I found the heart necklace Leo gave me. I looked at it for a long time. Then I placed it in a small box. I wrote a note that said, "Thank you for your kindness. I couldn't wear this, but I will never forget it." I gave it to Nina. She said she would return it to Leo. For me, as the seasons changed, I changed too. I made new friends in my writing class. I laughed again. I smiled more. I felt like myself. One night, I looked in the mirror. I saw a woman with soft eyes and a tired smile. Not perfect, not broken, just honest. I whispered to myself, "It's not a perfect story, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it."